If you like anime and you've been on the internet, I'm sure you've seen plenty of anime fandoms and interact with people online. Usually these places can be nice to talk with people, but sometimes they can get kind of toxic. And of course we all know one of the most toxic types of people, the manga spoilers. People who spoil the manga for people who only watch the anime. But luckily in the Pokemon community, we really don't have to deal with this. Yes, there are plenty of Pokemon manga, the most famous being Pokemon Adventures, but the Pokemon anime and Pokemon Journeys right now don't adapt a manga, they're their own thing. So it's practically impossible to be spoiled on the anime from the manga. However, did you know that Pokemon Journeys actually has a manga? It's the opposite of normal manga and animes, where the manga actually adapts the anime instead of the other way around. But I thought it was interesting that this manga existed, and it just released in America a couple weeks ago. So I went to my local Barnes & Noble and picked up a copy, and today I'm going to review it. Without further ado, I'm going to be the first Pokemon Journeys fan to spoil the manga for you guys. So before I review the first 6 chapters that were included in Volume 1, which is what I read, I want to talk a bit about the manga itself, and first up I'll start with the art style, because I love the art style of this manga. It's very similar to the anime, and almost has a plasticky feel. Everything looks kinda shiny, and I think it looks great and really encompasses the Pokemon Journeys world. There are a couple times the art style felt a bit off to me, like this one panel of Go, but they're few and far between, and that's bound to happen. When you're releasing this manga every month, there's deadlines for what you have to draw, so it makes sense that it's not perfect. I also quickly want to talk about the comedy in this manga, because there are a lot of panels with funny faces and such that are meant to make you laugh, and honestly, I think they're great. The artist is able to draw some great, funny panels, and they always made me laugh or chuckle. And I think the comedic timing is also great. The jokes were placed appropriately, and there was nothing that felt out of place, like the specific panel you can see on screen. One final point I want to talk about before I start reviewing the individual chapters is that this manga is very fast compared to the anime. They get 1 chapter per episode, and in most TV anime, like My Hero Academia or Jujutsu Kaisen or any others that you might have watched, the episodes typically adapt 2 or more chapters from the manga, so they're working with a lot less time than other anime and manga. Because of having to fit 1 whole episode into just 1 chapter, there's a lot of cuts. Things move faster, small details are cut or changed, so I'm not going to talk about these too much. I'll highlight some major changes, but if like 1 small 2-second scene is cut, I'm not going to talk about it. Also, it's worth noting that since there's only 1 chapter a month, this manga only adapts 1 episode a month. So they don't adapt episode 1, then 2, then 3. They'll only adapt a couple random episodes from every month the magazine was released, so there's a lot of skipped episodes and such. Alright, let's start with Chapter 1, which actually covers the events of Episode 2. That's right, we don't get any of the Pikachu backstory or anything, it's just straight into Episode 2, which is where Ash and Go meet. Actually, a panel on the first page that talks about Ash's past achievements, something that really should have been done in the actual anime. We get to see his older Pokemon, specifically Gekkoga, who finally returns to us in the manga. This is why the manga's better than the anime, because Koga came back to us. With that aside, the only big change of this chapter is that the whole Cerise opening ceremony thing all happens outside instead of in his lab. But that's really the only big change. Everything else, while it is a bit rushed, goes over the same plot points of the original episode. Now it's time for Chapter 2, which covers the events of Episode 4 and 5 of the anime. This is the only chapter in the volume that covers 2 episodes, so it's a 2-in-1, which means things are going to be extra rushed. The thing they changed is they got rid of the whole plot of Scorbunny covering itself in dirt to blend in. It's just normal and white and just a normal Scorbunny. For some reason they changed the food that Scorbunny steals from Ash into cupcakes. I don't think this is something I need to mention, but it's an odd change, so I thought I'd point it out. Next big change is that because this episode skipped over the past episodes and rushed them and whatever, this is actually where Go first reveals his goal that he wants to only catch Mew. This was previously established in earlier episodes, but now he just establishes it when he tells it to Scorbunny. It isn't necessarily a change, but I wanted to point out this one page where Snorlax actually jumps in between panels. This is something we really only get in the medium of manga that we'd never really be able to see in an anime, so it's cool to see them use the medium of manga to their advantage when writing this chapter. Another odd change in this chapter is that when they all go on Snorlax to push his berry into his mouth to make him jump over the tracks, it's only Pikachu and Scorbunny that climb onto Snorlax, whereas in the original episode, Go and Ash also help out. And finally, this chapter ends with Go catching a ton of Pokemon. We don't actually see who we caught. We can assume most of these are the bug types from episode 6 because that actually gets skipped in the manga, but this is still a lot more Pokemon than just those bug types. So maybe this also includes his Darmanitan and a lot of his other earlier captures. Chapter 3 starts with showing all of the bug types he caught off screen, or off panel in this case, because as I stated like 2 seconds ago, we saw the Pokeballs last chapter. This chapter is adapting episode 7, which is the Battle Frontier episode, but for some reason they kind of cut the whole flute thing. You know, if you won the competition you would get a flute, so they cut all that. They cut the mascot girl who was doing the presentation. All that's cut, probably just to rush the chapter a bit. This chapter is actually where Mimey is revealed to have joined Ash's team or be staying with him, because when Ash first went to the Cerise laboratory, Delia never sent Mimey with him in this version of Journeys. So this is where they reveal that he's been working with Ash. So when Hodge, also known as Hoji, comes and introduces himself, they skip the whole part of Go going off to catch a Tailo and Wormpole and trying to catch his Mightyena, and just have Hoji come in with his Hariyama and Mightyena and introduce him that way. Overall, the battles in the chapter go very similar to the anime. The only major change is Ash's Mr. Mime's battle, where they cut the first part of it where Ash's Mr. Mime dodges all of Hariyama's arm thrusts by using its Kung Fu moves, because they skipped that part at the beginning of the episode where he was training with them. So they just skip right to the part where he uses Psychic and all the barriers on Hariyama. Chapter 4 covers episode 12, which is Leon versus Lance, and overall their battle goes very similar. One of the main differences here is that this is where we're first introduced to Team Rocket and the Gotcha Machine. This is because their previous appearances have all been cut. Interestingly, they also cut the Dragonite episode, which I'm pretty surprised. Another thing I thought I'd point out is that Go comments on Lance's red Gyarados, even though this is a manga and everything is black and white. Why? Why? Chapter 5 covers episode 13, which is where Ash battles Leon, and other than being a bit rushed, this episode or chapter is the exact same, so I have nothing to say. Chapter 6 covers episode 17, and it's pretty similar. The only difference here is that this is where we first learn that Go caught a Darmanitan, since the Unova episode was skipped, and it's the first time Go meets Team Rocket, since in the previous Team Rocket episode, they caused all the commotion with Dreadnought, but Go never actually met them. So that's it for my review of Volume 1 of the Pokemon Journeys manga. There are 3 more volumes that will eventually come out over here in America, so once they get translated I might review them as well, although I'm not sure. It really depends on how well this video does. So if you want more, leave a like or a comment, or even subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.